This is Bradford Donald Keller Townsend on the 13th of October, a Saturday, 2018. Welcome, shipmates on the HMS Gaia as we're hurtling through space at a guesstimated 470,000 kilometers per second. The topic today is cost, defined, life cycle analysis. I believe in using terms as they are used in the dictionary. Communicating accurately and effectively is very challenging in the real world. So if I use terms as they are most commonly used, there's a better probability of more of what I'm trying to convey getting to you. So economic cost is the combination of gains and losses of any goods that have a value attached to them by any one individual. Economic cost is used mainly by economists as a means to compare the prudence of one course of action with that of another. Cost defined from an accounting perspective, mental frame. In accounting, cost is defined as the cash amount or the cash equivalent given up for any asset. Costs include all costs necessary to get an asset in place and ready for use. For example, the cost of an item in inventory also includes the item's freight-in cost. Next, a short definition of life cycle analysis. Life cycle assessment, LCA, also known as life cycle analysis, ecobalance, and cradle-to-grave analysis, is a technique to assess environmental impacts associated with all the stages of a product's life, from raw material extraction through materials processing, manufacture, distribution, use, repair and maintenance, ellipsis, which is ... What got me thinking and prompted this video is the current price of gold, as I was thinking about an old friend of mine who's long passed away, who was a billionaire from Canada, and he made his fortune in the mining industry, starting a tiny little mine and then buying out mines and then eventually living on a yacht in the Caribbean, which is how I got to be his friend. So let's just say my friend's name is Bill. So William wants to purchase a mine, or he wants to get gold or silver in particular, and we'll pick gold. First, William needs to explore, and this can be a very expensive stage in the process of having a gold mine. So you do find it. Then you have to negotiate with those who have that land that the mine would be located. That's extremely difficult. People generally don't want to give you their gold mine. Then you need to purchase it and haggle, negotiate a price, and that all has to be done with attorneys and accountants. Then if they agree to it and the purchase is made, whether it's a barter, you may pay for it many different ways. You may give the person arrange sexual things for them. You may give them cash, other commodities, trade another chunk of land somewhere else. It's not necessarily just going to be a wire transfer of money, through an encrypted email type thing. Then the title needs to go through, and that again, you're probably going to have to pay lawyers or attorneys. There's different names, barristers in different countries uh, for that, where they put a stamp and a seal on it, or a ribbon maybe, to make it all official, and it's registered with the local and higher level as you go up from, let's say, civil to municipal to state and federal and international bodies, until it's recognized at all these different levels that is in fact your property. So all this goes, and all this has energy, human labor, mental labor, um, goes into it before anybody takes the first shovel to try to get any gold out of the ground or out of the mountain. And then you need permits, licenses, and all types of documentation. And I don't just mean uh, getting the title deeded over uh, and having a notary stamp it and that type of thing. You need many times a civil engineer, environmental experts, um, and they can end up being literally over 100 plus technicians, scientists, surveyors. People all need to be involved in the process and submit paperwork to governments, and maybe even to private individuals and corporations before the first pick is used to break up the ground. Uh, so once the government inspectors and all of that has been done, and maybe bribes paid, then you can build construction, because you're going to have to lay down a track, and you need earth moving equipment like excavators to come in and make the ground level and flatten enough. And engineers have to do it, like my friend Todd, who's a civil engineer, has to do a whole bunch of work, um, in preparation for the mine. And then once all that's done, and then there's the actual physical construction of the mine, and digging, whether it's a surface mine or digging down shafts, and having a way to get any water out and all that. Then there's the mining operation, running, performing of the mine, uh, and that can change from day to day, hour, minute to minute, depending on, do they run into an aquifer of water? Um, is there a different type under there? Is it clay going to hard rock and that type of thing? Um, then, and this is life cycle. So you have decommissioning, dismantling, recycling, because if you have all this machinery, let's say you have a shaker machine that agitates and shakes the ore coming out of the ground, just as one of the many steps in the process. That giant machine that shakes uh, may have all types of metals and electric motors with copper in them, and valuable components that could be recycled. The magnets alone uh, would be worth a lot. Then, after it's been dismantled and recycled and made safe as much as possible and safeguarded, then it needs to be secured. You may need to build a fence, and for a period of time have security guards, and pay them, and then pay for a sales real estate specialty company to market your property, and try to sell it when you're done. Usually, because you're not in maybe the real estate development business, and the land now does not have gold under it, because you've taken all the economically extractable gold out, but you still, the land still has some value. A farmer may want to purchase the land, and so that's a life cycle analysis in the real world. William, that's the world that William operates in. I heard that the mining operational cost is approximately $1,400 for an ounce of gold. And that means if you look at gold from a life cycle analysis, it is selling below its life cycle cost. Silver. So the markets, this is a particular example of how markets do not accurately or even in the ballpark meet the back of the napkin calculation. Back of the napkin is a engineering jargon that engineers just love to use. Back of the envelope, back of the napkin calculation. So it might cost $2,100 an ounce to get gold if you were to have to start the process from the beginning with the exploration and then shutting down the mine and having it secure so a child doesn't fall down a mine shaft, or the mine doesn't leak and poison the water of the neighboring towns and villages. That's all I have. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you benefited from it, and have a wonderful day.